Hello, gorgeous people. Today I'm talking about the day of our death and other stuff, okay? But it's not going to make you feel bad. It's going to make you feel good, all right? So I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So I was watching a really interesting video about somebody who was talking about time. And so I thought, well, I'll chat with the emissaries about that. And so I said to them, he was talking about time being cyclical and not linear, but cyclical, just going round. And so I said to the emissaries, what's time all about? I mean, is it cyclical or is it linear or whatever? And they said, there is no such thing as time. Okay? I love the way they just throw something out there and go, I think, okay, no such thing as time. They said time only exists in your realm because of the way that you perceive things. So you perceive everything with a beginning and a middle and an end. But outside of that, time doesn't exist. Everything is happening at the same time. And what they showed me was this, like this big set of cogs, brass cogs. And every cog was moving and every cog was joined. Everything was moving. So we've heard this, the butterfly effect. A butterfly flaps its wings here, and at the other end of the universe, something moves. That's kind of what they were showing me, that everything is interlinked, and everything is happening at the same time. Almost like something happens at this moment, and it changes everything, in the past, the future, everything. So I said to them, all right, well, if time is all happening at the same time, then can we move? Can we travel to other times if everything's happening at the same time? And they said, physically, no. Okay, physically, no. What they explained was that we can't travel physically because when we have chosen to come here, and they're talking about this 3D plane, not anything beyond. What happens beyond, I have no idea. I haven't really gone into that with them. I'm talking about here. They said that here, physically, we become anchored to this moment based on, our choice of when we come in, based on the alignment of the stars and everything. That kind of, it's almost like choosing like a sandwich, what you want in your sandwich. Well, that's what we do when we choose to come here. I want Jupiter here, I want Neptune here, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So, they're saying that once we're here, then it's kind of fixed. But I said, hang on, but I've heard stories of people who have physically gone to other times. And they said, yes, but it happens very rarely, and it only happens for very, very specific reasons, of which, they said, we cannot speak. Okay, that was it. But they said 99.99999% of the time we cannot move physically. But they said, yes, we can move mentally. We can move mentally into the future, into the past. And obviously, people who do remote viewing and things like that, that's what they do. They can go into the future and see stuff. And so I was asking them, well, what about the people who remote view and everything? How trustworthy is what they see? Yeah, how trustworthy is it? And they were saying, well, the issue is, just like when I channel stuff from them, it's coming through filters. And it all depends on how you've got your filters. Have you got your filters clean or not? Because obviously as information comes in, we then choose to give that information based on our beliefs and our values, etc. And so sometimes that information can become distorted. And I think we've seen that a number of times with people who are receiving information, and it's quite wild information, and information that doesn't actually come true. It's a bit wild. And I think maybe perhaps they're allowing the filters that the information's passing through is not are not clean. They're a bit muddied. The waters are muddied. So then I got to this next bit. It was kind of like a conversation that went bouncing around. And so I said to them, so why can't we move physically? And they said, well, because of what we said, but also because certain things must happen in the physical. Yeah. Things must happen. Fixed things must happen. So I was thinking, right, okay, well, what about death then? What about my death? Is my death fixed? Is it one of these fixed things? And they said, I was asking about the date, is the date of my death fixed? And they said, no. Depending on what you choose to do with this physical body, you can extend that date or you can shorten it, and they said, if you, for example, imagine you started to drink heavily, and became a real heavy drinker, you're going to shorten that. And imagine that you found something that actually made you even healthier, that you would lengthen that. So they said, no, that isn't fixed. The day isn't fixed. But they said certain events are. Before you can die, certain events have to happen. And they said that that's part of the contract that we've made. The contracts must be fulfilled. And what they were saying was that no matter what you do in this life, even if you try and run away from those fixed events, they will follow you. And they give me the example, I don't know if you've heard people say that it's, the people who go away into a monastery, and all they do is pray all of their life. The saying is that it's much easier for them to achieve that enlightenment. It's much easier than it is for somebody who lives in 3D, has a business to run, a family, and still achieves enlightenment. It's actually of much more value for the person who lives in this environment than somebody who wants to try and hide away from it. Okay, because as we've said, we chose to come to this 3D. There's no point in coming into 3D and then trying your best to get out of it and denying it. And so they were saying that these events that we have will always come. So even imagine the monk he has to live certain events. He goes to a monastery to hide away. It doesn't matter. The events will follow him. And even though he's in a wonderful spiritual place, he will go through his shit just as he would if he lived in the 3D world. There is no way of avoiding it because it's part of the contract that we've signed. And so that really is the conversation that I had with them. I thought it was interesting. I wanted to share it with you that we can travel in time in the mind, but not in the body. But hey, enough. I was thinking, I've got enough on my plate here in now without going anywhere else and getting whatever problems they've got there. Just think I'll just stick with my problems here and resolve them in the best way that I can. Let me finish by telling you just a little fun story, true story about what's happening here in Spain. So obviously the change in the climate has been number one. It's number one story. It's just, that and the crisis. Yeah. But everything has been blamed on that now. They were saying here in Spain that the attacks from macho men on women, macho men attacking women, is because of the change in the climate. Okay? Interesting, that, isn't it? In fact, heart attacks, people are drowning more. They're drowning more because of the change in the climate. So they're just blaming anything, everything, every single thing is that. Fires, even though it's been proven that the planes drop, they're actually on purpose setting fire to places. No, it's to do with the change in the climate. But the newest one, I had the misfortune to be sitting in front of the television the other day, and I really get disappointed when I have to sit and watch. I like to be present with that horrible, minging, disgusting piece of shit. Yeah. And they were saying here in Spain that there is a shortage of, what do you think the shortage is? You'll never believe it. There's a shortage of ice. There is not enough ice to go around. Obviously because of the change of climate. And so they literally had a 20-minute spot on the news talking about the shortage of ice and how it was affecting businesses, how it was affecting everybody. At no point did they say, so we may have to go back to how we used to make ice, which was just to put it in our freezer, those little blocks, and make our own ice before we used to start buying it from the supermarket. At no point did they give a solution. They only talked about the fact that there was a shortage of ice. And I was thinking, right, is it just me? Because I know it's not. Is that the most stupidest segment on the news I've ever seen? Because I tell you why, they were talking about the fact that it was to do with the power, lack of power. We don't have enough electricity, of course we do, but we don't have enough electricity coming through. We do, they've just charged us 3 times what they used to charge us, but we still have plenty of it. And they're saying it's because of that. They just can't make the ice like they used to. And I'm thinking, is that something that people are just going to swallow? Are people going to be watching that going, for goodness sake, look at that. This change of climate is terrible, isn't it? Is that what for what purpose? Other than to spread fear and to get people upset about the fact that they can't have, their kubata with ice in. What the hell? You would almost think, one would think, that they were doing this to make themselves look like tits, right? Because that's what's happening. They talk about the loss of credibility. They already know that they're losing, they're hemorrhaging people. People just have no trust in the news anymore. And yet when you watch it, they're spewing out this dreadful dogma. That's all it is, propaganda and dogma. And it's even the news reporters, on the face, it's what the fuck am I having to read here? What is it that they're trying to feign, the actors, they're not news reporters, they're actors, but they're trying to act out this no ice, what are we going to do? We can't get it from the North Pole because it's all melted. Oh, for God's sake. Dearie me, roll on the golden age. There'll be tons of ice there, tons of ice, all the ice that you want. Yeah. Okay, have a lovely weekend. I'll see you all later. I love you all. Bye-bye.